On today's episode, we're gonna show you how to make these 3 meals using same macros for each meal. Welcome back to LiveLeanTV for Women. I'm Jessica Guthrow, Kyla's mommy. And today we're gonna talk about macros and how you can fulfill your macro goals with lots of different options. We're just gonna show you these 3 examples that are so easy to make, even a baby could do it. So nutrition is often the missing component for people who are stuck, frustrated, not losing weight, not getting as lean as they want to be, and not seeing the kind of results that they're working so hard in the gym to see. So if your nutrition is not on point and you haven't dialed it in yet, then what are you waiting for? Here at LiveLeanTV, we've given you all the tools that you need, all the information that is going to help you dial in your nutrition and get things on point so that you can actually finally see the results that you work hard for. I completely get and understand that macros and calories and all this meal planning and all this information can really seem overwhelming and scary. And I know a lot of you, especially women, are afraid to do the work because you think it's going to be very hard to do, very confusing, complicated, and you're not going to gain anything out of it. But trust me, do the work. It's not as hard as you think it is. We're here to help show you the way, and once you do and you really understand your nutrition, it is going to be a life changer. Seriously, when it comes to your body getting the results you want, finally getting as lean as you want to be, you will not regret doing this work. All right, enough of a rant. Let's get into today's video topic. I want to show you how you can take your macro goals from one meal. I'm going to use the post-workout meal as an example, and I'm going to show you how you can have that meal in 3 very different ways, different textures, same ingredients. Well, mostly the same ingredients. I'll show you there's a couple ingredient swaps that you can use while still keeping the numbers the same, because that's what's really key for getting the results that you want. You should know, you should at least have a ballpark idea of how many calories you're consuming each day and where those calories are coming from, and also what the breakdown looks like, how many proteins, carbs, and fats are in your daily totals. You'll see the macros do fluctuate a little bit, but in general, they're mostly close enough to be considered on point. Okay, if that makes sense, let's roll right into the recipes and I'll show you them one by one. So for this meal, we are aiming for 350 calories, about 30 grams of protein, give or take, about 50 grams of carbs, give or take, and really minimal fats. For your post-workout meal, it's best when you have your fats at a later time. Your post-workout meal is, I'm talking about whatever you consume within the hour after you finish your workout. You can have your next meal about an hour after that or 2 hours later, and that's where you can have your healthy fats and stuff. But in your post-workout meal, usually like to keep it just proteins and carbs. So here's version number 1, a meal that you can choose that is gonna fit those macro goals. This is the kind of meal that I choose for most of my post-workout times just because it's cold, it's refreshing, it doesn't require any cooking, it's super easy to put together. So when we turn on our food scale, we have a 0 reading, and then we're gonna put a dish on it, empty glass dish like this, and that is gonna have weight to it. So make sure we 0 it out just by tapping that button again. Now we're back to 0, and then it's time to weigh our food. And remember, we don't weigh the skins or parts that we're not consuming. Just use the consumable parts of your food. So for banana, just the inside fruit. So here we have about 54, 55 grams of banana. So that is a rough estimate to what normal size bananas, what a half would be. I usually count 110 grams is 1 full banana. To do the blueberries, again, make sure that it is 0'd out with the dish on it, and then you're gonna start to fill that dish up. And our aim for this meal is 200 grams of blueberries, so it's quite a bit. That's gonna be about 1.25 cups. Blueberries are about 150 grams per cup, so we're already over 1 cup. Oh, see, we're now at 229, so we gotta remove a few. And yes, I'm being specific about it because specific is good when you're going for specific results. So 203, we're close. Right on the money, baby. 200 grams of blueberries, and in the blender they go. Now for the whey protein, we're just gonna do 1 scoop. And so I usually kind of like level it off loosely like so. Not a heaping scoop, but just a pretty level scoop, okay? And then we throw that in the blender too. We're gonna add in about 1/2 cup of this unsweetened almond milk. I worked this into the macros. 1/2 cup is good. And then the rest we'll fill with water just to get the right consistency we want. I'm gonna go ahead and put in another ½ cup of water before I blend. So that's just pure water. And then we'll blend it up and see how thick it is. And that's actually just perfect. So it's always good not to add the water until you're sure that you need it. So I think for me, that is like the perfect smoothie consistency, thick but not too thick, easy peasy, macro fulfilling meal. I'm sure you guys have seen we have tons of different post-workout shake recipes. This isn't the only recipe that I'll use. I'll substitute different fruits, sometimes putting a little maple syrup or a different type of carb in there, but protein and carbs in the blender. It's so easy. If you don't use whey protein powder, you can of course use like a vegan protein powder or any other kind of protein supplement of your choice. You don't have to use the one that I use, but I personally highly recommend this brand of whey, Catalyst Whey, and I'm gonna use this in actually all 3 of these recipes. All right, version number 2 is a protein. I'm a huge fan of oatmeal. I love having oatmeal, especially for breakfast, but the problem with having oatmeal only is that it's really high in carbs. So if you add some protein powder, it gives it a nice thick creaminess, and it fulfills those protein needs for the day. Now for this protein recipe, my aim is 48 grams of oatmeal, so let's see how much that will be. Just putting it directly in the bowl that I'm gonna use to cook it. My little hack with cooking oatmeal is really just to pour hot water over it. That way you don't have to get a pot dirty. It's like oatmeal cooking for lazy people. Look at that, 48 grams. I've got some boiling hot water from my kettle here, and of course you don't have to measure this. I'm really just pouring enough water to cover the oats completely. And then you stir it up a little bit and you just let it sit for a bit and it cooks on its own. Now we're gonna add the protein powder. So 1 scoop, 1 level scoop of this stuff, sprinkle it in. And at this point, I usually add a little bit more water, otherwise it's kind of too dry. So stir it in and then just add little bits of water as needed. Make sure not to overdo it, so otherwise it gets kind of soupy. But if you put just the right amount, you get a nice creamy texture. Then we're gonna add about 55 grams of banana, just sliced up like this. It's about half of a banana, and you can stir that in as well. And bon appetit, super easy snack or breakfast idea. All right, version number 3 is for my cookie lover friends out there. For those of you who need to have some kind of dessert or sweet treat every single day. I know if you're trying to get lean and you feel like you're on a diet, you probably feel like you have to swear off cookies, am I right? But you don't. You can have cookies on the Live Lean lifestyle, of course. We have lots of cookie recipes, like our sweet potato cookies, one of my favorites. And this cookie recipe right here is one that's super high in protein, no fat, like really, really low fat. Just a little bit of fat from the chocolate, but little bit. And this one can totally substitute your post-workout shake, or you could even have this additional if you don't want to eat more meat throughout the day. You can have protein powder twice. I'm not saying I recommend that for every day, but you can do it if that's your jam. Now this recipe, these exact same ingredients could be made into a pancake if you want to cook it on your stovetop, but you can also stick them in the oven for about 15 minutes and you get these nice toasty cookies, and you can work in a little bit of almond milk to have cookies and milk. Living lean never tasted so delicious. And for my next trick, I'll be making the protein cookies. So here we go, zero out the bowl that I'm gonna be using. Add another half a banana, which is about 55 grams. Close enough. We want about 24 grams of oatmeal, which is typically like a quarter cup. We got a leveled off scoop away. And now we're gonna mash this all together with a fork. It may seem like it's gonna be too dry at first, but just keep mashing and it eventually does turn into a dough-like consistency. So we get out a baking sheet like so, and I give it a little coat of non-stick spray. So I'm just gonna separate this into 2. Could, like I said, also make 1 very large cookie. Okay, and one more thing, let's not forget the teaspoon of chocolate chips that we worked in there too. A teaspoon is about that much. This is in the meal planner software, worked in to add even more deliciousness while fitting our goals. And so I'll just distribute those on top. And then this goes into the oven at around 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, but I'll keep an eye on it to see when the edges get nice and toasty brown. All right, guys, so I really hope this clears up the idea that you have to eat the same old boring meals the same exact way when you're living lean. You absolutely don't, but you should be paying attention to your portion sizes and your macros if your goal is body transformation. Let me be clear, if you do not have a body transformation goal, eat what you want in the amounts you want and just see how it goes. If you do have a body transformation goal and you're stuck and frustrated with your results from just winging it, then dial it in. It's time for you to get conscious of how much you're eating, what the portion sizes should be for your goals, and then stick to your meal plan. That doesn't mean sticking to the same boring meals. It just means sticking to the plan, okay? Trust me, meal planning is not as scary and confusing and awful as it sounds. It's a really simple and easy tool that you roadmap your path to success with. If you're still feeling overwhelmed on how you do all of this, how many calories you should be eating per day for your goals, we do offer custom coaching. So we do have spots right now for custom coaching. If you want somebody else to figure out your calories and macros for you, set up a meal plan using actual real foods that actually meet your goals, and then all you have to do is just follow and execute the plan. So take all the mathematic work out of it, no spreadsheets, no confusing calculations, just tell me what to eat and how much, then custom coaching is your best bet. If you are kind of a nutrition geek and you love spreadsheets, you can absolutely download our meal planner software and do it yourself. By selecting food types, entering the quantity, it will pop out the macros of that quantity of that food, and you can see how that all fits into your day and adjust things until you get it right for your goals. So for all you spreadsheet math geeks out there, get busy. And for those of you who don't want to do it yourself and you just want to have it done for you, go to LiveLeanTV.com/coaching and we'll get you set up with a 6-week program that will forever change your relationship with fitness nutrition. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope that these recipes looked tasty to you and that you'll give some of them a try. Remember that these portion sizes may or may not be right for your goals, so I would suggest that you do your own meal planning instead of just following this one, just in case this is more or less food than you actually want for your goals. And don't forget to keep working out, keep working on that fitness. It's a really important part. Nutrition is the biggest part. Working out is also important. So let's do both. And keep watching LiveLeanTV. I'll see you guys next Thursday at the next episode. Thanks for watching and keep living lean.